Well, please welcome to Streaming for Vengeance, brave words, Streaming for Vengeance, the legendary, of course, you can see behind him, Scorpions guitar player, Mr. Rudolf Schenker. This is such an honor, sir. Thank you so much for joining me.
Tim, fine, great. I'm excited to listen to your questions.
Well, I've got a lot of questions. And let's start with this thing. Have you ever heard the term earworm? Like a song that you can't get out of your head. It just kind of lingers and rotates around for days sometimes.
Yeah. Why?
Because when I listened to this record, you created a lot of earworms.
Yeah, of course, that's the basic. I mean, I tell you one thing. I think some people hating it, but I think it's the great thing about music that this worm, it's not leaving your brain, because it gives you, without anything, the possibility of living with a piece of music in a moment. You know, that's great. You know, when the people from Africa came to America because of being slaves, when they have on the field, when they have to work, the first thing what they did was singing, and they gave the weak person the power from the strong, and that's what music is all about. Music has to bring you in the position that you live your life more easier. So, and by having a melody in your mind, your whole body gets reflected. Some people don't like it, but that's good, because if you have this melody in your mind, the music, this vibration goes through your cells and heals your cells.
Right. Well, you guys have been so busy. Like, there's a lot to bite on with this record. 15 songs. It's, I guess it has to do a little bit with COVID, because you just kept possibly just being in writing mode a lot longer. Was that the case?
Let's say this way. It was more the case that Klaus came with the lyrics first, because in the past it was always me writing songs in front, and then Klaus did the lyrics on top of it. This time Klaus came with a bunch of lyrics and said, Rudolf, like, you know, gas in a tank. No, he was talking. That was one of his first lyrics, to kick my ass, and said, "Look here, I have lyrics here. Show me your king in town, or king in town, or whatever he said." So, but it was great for me. I had this feeling, yes, that's unbelievable. I can give them the music a special kind of, I can give the lyrics a special kind of, let's say, a speciality. So in this case, I was driving around. I was in Thailand at these days, and I was driving around, and I was always thinking about these lyrics. And then somehow I had the entrance. And then it was going like, kick, dig, dig, dig. So the songs came. I called our sound engineer in Germany and said, look, can you come to Thailand? We want to record something. I have some good ideas. So, and he came over, and then we start recording it, sending stuff to Pavel as for the bass playing, and Klaus was happy. It was great, and said, yeah, fantastic. So, and that was the situation. But by being on the world tour and being on the Asian tour, where we went from Australia to Indonesia and then to Singapore. Our last gig was normally supposed to be in Manila in Philippines. We had to cancel this one because the pandemic was on the way. And yeah, we had to go from Singapore back to Germany. I went to Thailand, get my stuff, and went also home. And then we said, what can we do? So normally we were supposed to go to America and do this album there in Los Angeles. And then we said, yeah, it's not allowed. And also for a producer to come over to us, it's not allowed. Okay, then we do it by ourselves. That's what we did. And we have a very good sound engineer who was working for 5-6 years with Prince in the Paisley Park in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And we said, let's do it by our own. We have time enough. Let's use the time not to being depressed. No, use it to be creative. So it was working with Mickey D as a new drummer since 2016. It was fantastic to play in the studio and work all this kind of details out. Not like sound designing on Pro Tools, no, like in the old days. And that was a very good point, because when you play the songs, you feel immediately when something is missing. So, and that's what we did. We had no time limit, because there was still the situation. We pushed everything backwards. Now we will play in Las Vegas, the 9 shows in March, mid of March and mid-April, and then going to Europe and playing there and coming then to America and stuff. But we had no time limit, and that was the good situation. We could use all the time to really make every song perfect, and also playing it together live in the studio. And the sound studio, the Peppermint Park, has a great localization where we could do everything, record in the positive way. And so we have enough experience, because we were working in the past with lots of great producers. In this case, we know what we wanted. We want to go to the DNA of the old days, Blackout, Love It, Laugh Drive, Love It First Thing. So, and that's what we went into. And now we have the result. And everybody we heard so far from around the world, they're happy and they are great and say, hey guys, that's fantastic.
I'm very happy. And I love this, how it's framed. We are rock believers like you. You really united with the fans with this record.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing, Rock Believer, we had a lot of other titles, but I said in the first moment, I said, Rock Believer. Who else is a rock believer still doing it what he wanted to do from 65 on? What is this? There is nothing. And in front of us, we have 3 generation of rock believers. Yeah, what do you want? That's the title. So, and in this case, it's a perfect title for 50 years, a anniversary album after Lonesome Crow.
Right. It's wow.
It's the perfect story.
The video, there's like 1 second shot where it's right on you, and you've got the biggest smile I think you've probably ever had in your life. You know, the moment where the camera's focused on you, and I'm just like, it was very heartwarming and uplifting to see that someone that's in the zone and his heart is being fulfilled by music.
I tell you one thing, when I'm driving around now, because there is no much stress, and driving around to the neighborhood, sometimes tears running on my face, because I'm of happiness, of thinking back what I went through the whole life, what kind of journey it was, and it still is, and still coming out with a new album, with a great chemistry in the band, with Mickey D, with Pavel, Matthias, Klaus, and me. It's fantastic. It's a dream, and the dream came through as a rock believer.
What did Mickey D bring to the table to this record? This is his first album with you guys.
I mean, very much like this. When we tried to get Kotek, James, on the track, and it didn't work, we tried Mickey D out, because we couldn't cancel all the tour, and we tried him to the Eric Clapton Foundation to get back to health and stuff, but he was not ready for it. So in this case, we had a rehearsing in Berlin, and when I first came into the studio, into the rehearsal place, and we start playing, I noticed that he plays the same. People telling me always I play 10 seconds or whatever, for kind of before, little bit before the beat, and he is doing the same thing. And that's the case. That's a situation that this album is so much alive. Of course, that we play live. That's a very important part. But also that everybody has to lock in this more like this, not this laid back like boom, gah, boom. No, tack, go push it and bring me to the point. So, and this is with Mickey. He is really a great live drummer. He brings a lot of freshness into the band, and he's a perfect person for the chemistry in the Scorpions.
Can you answer me this question, please? Where is your ultimate zone to create the ultimate riff? And how do you and Matthias kind of work together to put it all together? Describe that.
There is no, I tell you one thing. I'm going back. I couldn't understand the words in the early days when Richard said, you know, there is no work. The riffs are there. You have to grab them. You have to be sensitive enough. Don't force it. Hang loose. And then they're coming. And that's the way it is. I never get in, and now I write a song. It's not working. Sometimes it's happening in the car. When I drive from one gig to the other, I have always my rehearsal guitar with me in the limousine, and also, of course, my iPhone. In these days, it's more easy than in the old days that you had always a tape recorder with you. In this case, I play something around, and that's great. Yes, push, recording, and it's there. The same situation, Zoo was created in front of the TV by not thinking that I'm creating a riff. I see the hurricane warning, tornado warning in front. So when the guy finished and said, okay, close your windows, and then I was thinking, hey, that's something you played. Hey, that's great, recording. Push, that was the beginning. Immediately I composed out of that the song, went to the dressing room when we played, I don't know which city it was, and played this to Klaus and said, hey, great, I give me a tape, I will work on it. And he came up because a little bit earlier, we went with the management to the New York 42nd Street called the Zoo, and he said that sounds like it. So this is the way how it is. You know, the point is the chemistry for me from the first moment when I created the band was important. Good musician, yes, but also people I can build a friendship with. That's a very, very important point, because then you don't have to fight with egos. You know, that's the point. If you have the right cluster and the band fits together, then you can create very, very, let's say, effective. So in this case, with the Zoo, we went to the 42nd Street. I came with this riff. He started this. The beginning was another thing. This, you know what I did? I did it by being in Atlanta, in the Prestige Plaza. It's a round hotel. I don't know how many things, but I could be 40 or 50, very high. So I was in the top one, and I see a helicopter in front of me. I see on my TV, because I have the TV often on, and I'm seeing the helicopter on TV, and I see the guy saying, "Hey, there's a bank robbery," and the helicopter is filming it. And I started this thing. So these are the points where I create riffs, dramatic, out of the blue, whatever. There is no way where I can say, so now I write something. But this will be not good. That will be okay, but not good enough for being on the Scorpions album.
I have to ask you this question because it really takes me back where I'm talking to a musician who's been working over 50 years, every album, every tour. And I can't think of another artist living or dead, that's done the same thing. Like, do you ever reflect on that or look in the mirror and go, wow, this is a huge accomplishment, obviously?
They don't know that it's the wish the band had, because we come, maybe it's the one thing, it's we're coming from Germany. So in Germany somehow still has this bad feeling of the war, you know, especially with Russia. That's the reason why I said to my guys in '82 already, we have to go to Russia. Why Russia? Because there's no fans and no record company. I said, no, we have to show them in Germany is a new generation which grows up. They're coming not with tanks and making war. They're coming with guitar and bring love, peace, and rock and roll. So, and that's a good thing. That's the way where we can show them there's something new. That's the reason why we went to Russia and why Wind of Change became the soundtrack of the most peaceful revolution on earth. Why we was invited by Mikhail Gorbachev when he was still in power. So in all these kind of things, if you use music not as music and to build up your ego, build music for, bring it to the people and give it a lift. And that's the reason why we played in so many countries over 80s. I heard an interview lately from Metallica, from James or from Kirk, where he got asked from a guy asking a question, reporter, how many countries you played so far? And said Kirk or James, not so many like the Scorpions. We always was waiting for the Scorpions that they're playing there, and then we went there as well. Yeah, because we were fearless. We said we want to play there, and we play there. When Grunge and Alternative came, we went to Asia. We played in all stadiums in Asia, in Jakarta, in Manila, in Thailand. So that's just the way, in Russia. So that's the way. Don't fight. Use the time, like COVID now. Use the time and change something in your kind of measurement.
And you know what you found when you went to these really far off destinations? Kids, fans that were desperate to see rock music live because it was either illegal or bands weren't allowed in or whatever. And you guys were saviors.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why I'm so happy. That's what I want to say. From Germany, when you come from Germany, you see the whole world, not only parts. We wanted to play in the whole world, and that's what we did. We have some countries left, which is great, and we want to do this on the next tour.
Now, you have a really serious problem, which you've admitted to. It's having this thing called a travel bug, and you want to always be on the road. How have you been able to deal with the fact that you haven't been able to get on the road where you spent your whole life on the road? Like mentally, did that screw you up a little bit?
Look, I'll tell you one thing. I don't think about so much. You know, would I had problems with either this one or this other, I would change it. But I don't think. I'm every time we maybe do an album because we feel we have to do, because musician is to be creative. Then the tour, the promoters coming and you know, this one and here we have this and this. Oh, great. You know, when the chemistry in the band is great, we have friends. Yeah, what you can do is sitting in the pub and drink your beer with the friends instead. And on the other hand, you go on the road and playing in New York, Madison Square Garden, or play in Rock in Rio, or play in whatever. There is no question about this. And our crew we have, they're also friends. We have them for ages. So in this case, you with your friends on the road and making music and believe and make rock believers, believing in rock.
Wow. Aging. We're all aging. We're seeing bands that are kind of going off the road. There's one thing that you don't seem to be doing is aging. So what's your magic potion?
When you think about aging. You age very fast. And if you're not thinking, because the spirit is the transformer of the body, not the body, the spirit. In the moment you start thinking, okay, I get retired, you immediately go like, if you have something to do, body have to follow you. So that's the way how it is. Not forever, no question about this. But you can stretch it and you can make your life so fantastic, especially when the chemistry in the band is fantastic. So that's an important point. You have to build this right surrounding. And when you have then the title like Rock Believer and you have 3 generations in front of your stage, yeah, what else do you want? You want to have a golden egg or what?
Is there a destination that you haven't been able to get to that you want to play?
You know, the destination, they're changing often. You know, sometimes it was, of course, America was one of the very, very important parts, Canada, because of this world, and especially in 80s. Oh, man, let's go there. And it was fantastic. Vancouver, we recorded 2 albums in Vancouver. It was fantastic to live there. So anyway, I forgot the name. So in this case, in the moment, we actually, the last one we really wanted to play was Australia, but Australia was already asked for to play, that we play there, was already on the tour in, I think it was 88, where it was a crazy world. The people came and said, hey guys, we want to have you here. We had #1 song with Wind of Change, but everybody was so tired. It's also happened after a while when you were 1.5 years on the road that we said no. And then we had to wait. And lately, I think the last 10 years, we played 2 times in Australia and it was great and enjoyed it. So what else we can play? Alaska we played in I think Iceland we haven't played yet. So the week of fur, I don't know, I forgot this name. Anyway, let's see. Hawaii we played also in the same stadium like Elvis Presley played. So I don't know. Let's see.
Wow,
there
awesome.
will people coming up and will say, look here, promoters, and say, look here, we have this and this idea. You want to play? We want to see when it sounds good, looks good. Yes.
Do you mind if I throw a couple of random questions at you? These are fun.
Kind of question?
Just random questions. Just a couple of various questions. What is a song that you wrote that you hear the most when you're traveling around? Like you're driving around. What's the most popular Scorpion song that you kind of hear out of like an elevator or some taxi driver or whatever?
Oh, it's difficult, you know, because the old songs I heard so often. And when you would ask for an album, I would go for A Night at the Opera, because it's an amazing album. It's really outstanding. Or I would go for Led Zeppelin tour, or I would go for maybe Hotel California, which was unbelievable. It's very hard because there are so many great songs, you know, and I always like to be surprised. Turn the radio on and then go for it. So if some songs are not so good anymore, then I switch it to another one. But I don't want to play. And I tell you one thing: I often ride with the car around the neighborhoods by not listening to anything, because it's always good, also for creating new songs, to be empty and really fill with new stuff. Because if you listen too much to old stuff, you'll be too much connected then.
Do you remember the first song that you heard that made you want to pick up a guitar and play it as a little kid?
Yeah, of course. So, Little Richard.
Wow. Okay.
But it was not. It was not. He didn't play the guitar. He played the piano. But all the guitar players who played guitar, except Chuck Berry, I played with him on TV before he died. Goldene Kamera called in Germany, and I played with him on TV. He played the guitar very close to what later Keith Richards and other guitar player played. But in general, I liked the voice of Little Richard very much. And I said, I want to be also a musician. But then I didn't go for it because I had a guitar in my hand and I was rehearsing. I said, no. I was a good soccer player. And I said, no, I play better soccer. It's too boring alone. But when the Beatles and Rolling Stones came, yes, this is the one I want to go for. Some friends together and music. That's the point why I did it. So not because of guitar or whatever. A gang goes around the world.
Is there any one of your icons that you would like to jam with that you haven't?
I mean, you know, Leslie West, maybe you know a mountain.
Yes. Yeah.
I did. I came to one festival in Germany, and there was Corky Lane and Leslie West, and Rudolf, you come with us on single. Mississippi Queen, we played together. Whatever. So then I was with lately 3 years ago. I was jamming with Shape of Things, Jeff Beck and Zambora and some other guitar players. Here, the movie guy, Johnny Depp. And so we played in a boxing hall, a hall in because of the Classic Rock Awards. I played with them, or I played also with Alice Cooper. So it was already with one, maybe with Jimmy Page, you know, because I like him because he's a producer, he's a great composer, great composer, great guitar player. He's an unbelievable musician. He's an all-round talent, you know. And I think that's for me so far the man who sticks out the most out of. And I told him in Tokyo when he was also there, I said, you know, Jimmy, you inspired me to write "Still Loving You."
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Real fast story.
He came once in my dressing room when we played in Hammersmith Odeon in London, and I remember he was standing in the doorway, and I couldn't believe, because you know it's not normal. And somebody who has this potential and this, you know, and he comes in and said, oh, great job, great guy. So, and that was fantastic. And that's what also with Keith is a great guy as well. When he did his solo tour, I was there and we met together. And you know that all the good musicians, they are great guys and very easy to go along with.
Did you have much of a relationship with Eddie Van Halen? What are your thoughts about his passing?
Yes! I tell you, once in 1976, my brother called me from America. He played with UFO. I said, Rudolf, why are you playing in America? I said, yeah, but here's a band called Van Halen. They're playing around Los Angeles, playing your songs. Please coming and catch your train and all the stuff. I said, oh, okay, good. Yeah, we're working on it, but let's see when that will be happening. So then Van Halen played in CTH in Hamburg, supporting Black Sabbath. So, and we saw the band, Klaus and me, and great concert from Van Halen, fantastic. So, and then there was changed over to Black Sabbath. And what I see was Eddie runs over the stage into the crowd, comes to, we were sitting in 6th row or 7th row, comes to us, hey, you guys here, come on backstage, let's come to, and you know, and then we were talking, David Ross came and was singing, "Speedy is coming," like this. We were ending up after this being together in the restaurant, in the classical German restaurant. And what was happening? David Ross' birthday was there when he got from the Van Halen brothers the cake in his face. So this was the answer. It was great. We always had good connections. We were invited before the Monster of Rock from Van Halen management to think about this tour we did through the United States. Van Halen, Scorpions, Dokken, Metallica, and Kingdom Come. So this tour, we went to Eddie Van Halen's studio. Yeah, it was great. And we're listening to, I think, to our new stuff or their new stuff, I don't know. We had a great relationship, great people, great band. And yeah, too bad that Eddie left us too early.
And what memories do you have from playing the US Festival with Van Halen? Because as I was just a teenager, 500,000 people, and watching it on TV, it's one of the most incredible live shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you were there.
Exactly. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was with all these people, with Judas Priest, with Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, and all these guys. This was amazing. It was really a rock and roll family. That was very good.
Do you ever look back, my last question, how you survived the 80s? Because that must have been a hell of a ride, obviously.
Of course, yes, it was a hell of a ride. But somehow, I think the band was strong enough to stick together, not going too far out, and it was the most outstanding living in the 80s than I ever seen, and the parties and the time, everything was perfect. And so we made it. And that's the reason why I said sometimes tears running on my face, because of thinking back. I have not so much time to look back, but when I look back, because of being happy that I survived it, because I was also very crazy jumping on the roofs of hotels and stuff like this, making jokes and stuff. But survived, and happy that I'm survived, and that we still have the possibility with Klaus as a singer, somebody where his voice is still very, very good, and that's not so normal.
Thank you for leading all of us rock believers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.